Hey, you came back. Welcome back to Homestead Glamour Lifestyle. I'm Salima. Today we're continuing to work on my deck garden, and I'm doing something I actually hadn't planned on doing this year. At least I had not planned on doing in this space. I'm planting green beans. I was at the Wegmans, which is probably bar none my favorite grocery store. I was at the Wegmans last week shopping, and I got myself a pack of organic green beans. And the green beans the package was about this big. A little smaller than that, actually. $3.99. And I felt offended. And I decided that, you know what, I'm gonna grow green beans. I actually grew a few green bean plants in my green stalk rotating tiered planter, and they were good. And what I understood from that exercise is that you need a lot of green bean plants to get a decent harvest, especially considering how many family members we have living in this house. But when I saw $3.99 for that little bitty bag, I thought, you know what, every little bit counts. I haven't got my big garden space yet, but in the meantime, I'm gonna grow green beans, and they're probably gonna be better. I've grown strawberries before, delicious. The first time I ever tasted a sun-ripened strawberry, freshly picked up my own plant, it's a revelation. If you've never done that, you have to try it. So I didn't want to get a whole bunch of other pots. I wanted something I can pack up and put away so that I can have more space on this deck when you just want to like do stretches or exercises or whatever. So I'm trying for the first time grow bags. So I got these grow bags, 10-gallon grow bags. And let's just see. Oh, look at that. They came with plant markers. How considerate of them. I'll just put those down there and deal with that later. I thought I still had, and I actually probably do have, and just can't locate right now, some green bean pods. But I looked at my seed collection, green bean seeds, not pods. I looked at my seed collection, and what I could, have to hand, what I could find right away was these Bush Beans Royalty Purple Pod. I've had purple green beans. I've had purple bush beans before. They're delicious. If I remember right, when you cook them, they turn green. It's cool when you first pick them. So we're gonna try Royalty Purple Pods. So I went to the store and I got some, of course, organic potting mix. Got several bags of that. I don't want to use all potting mix, so when you're doing a container garden, as everybody knows, if you're doing anything extensive, soil can get pretty expensive, and also it's a pain to haul all that stuff. So I live right in the woods, and I got lots of fallen leaves, I got lots of sticks, and we had a bunch of fallen branches chipped up last year. So one way to fill up your pots, well, not fill them up, one way to partially fill your pots is to use sticks, which also help it hold moisture, some mulch, free mulch preferably, that's just shredded off our property here, and some leaves. I get about half full of that, and then I'll put the other stuff. The stuff I bought, the organic soil mix, will go on the top. And I've actually done that with just about everything we have up here, not with the green stalk. The green stalk planters, I just fill those with soil. There's no space in the bottom really to be messing around with sticks. Well, maybe like one small stick per tier. So just do that. And seeing how big these are, I'm probably gonna do, well, I'm not gonna promise myself. I'm gonna start with 3. I'm gonna start with 3 and we'll see what happens. Yeah, we're gonna throw in our mulch. Yeah, I'll probably have to go back down to the mulch pile for the second or third pot. Let's see how that goes. All right, and put in our leaves, and these, of course, being organic matter, are just going to break down into soil. I did this with my hydrangeas. I did this when I was first putting in those large pots, which you've probably seen in other videos when I was first putting those in for tomatoes I don't have a trowel. Well, I've got it somewhere. I don't feel like going all the way downstairs and across the yard to the shed, so I'm just gonna go rustic here. Just do this. I like this blend. It seems to grow things really well. Garden Kellogg Organics. Oh, that family owned, locally made. Did you know that? Best things about this to me is that it's lightweight and easy to carry. Some soil bags, I guess, are just so saturated. But it's so difficult to carry. Well, it could be a good workout when you're trying to get something done quickly. It's quite a pain to try. Not try. It's quite a pain to carry a really heavy bag, especially when you got to get it up the stairs and then out to the deck. Let's see what we've got going on. So probably one bag of this would do this whole pot. Actually, did the math because this is 40 quarts. This is a 10-gallon pot. And I thought to myself, is a dry quart the same as a dry gallon? In which case this would be just enough to fill one pot, which would be worth it. I mean, the way food prices are going up, I say if you have any concern at all about being able to afford your groceries or afford good quality groceries to eat the way you've always eaten, go ahead if you've got any kind of space. Invest in some infrastructure, invest in some soil, invest in your pots or a garden bed or whatever you're doing. For me, I was just, like I said, I was just offended. They want me to pay $4 for that little thing. And I wonder how much of that are the farmers seeing? You know, are they just covering their costs with the increase in fertilizer? And I'm sure organic fertilizers are, even on an industrial scale, I'm sure an organic fertilizer is much more of a hit to the pocketbook, more of a hit to the wallet than a regular or conventional fertilizer. So, yeah, this will probably go faster if I had a trowel. You know what I've never had in my life? I've never had a green bean casserole. I see them in magazines, I've seen them on TV, cookbooks. I've never had one. It's not something my family ever did. We like to cook green beans. Pardon. We like to cook green beans with just a little bit of butter and some chicken broth, some fresh garlic or some garlic powder and salt. And it is super simple. I don't boil them. Cut the green beans, rinse the green beans, put them in a pot, put about like 1.5 to 2 inches of chicken broth normally. Put some broth in the bottom, just about 2 inches, and then like half a pat of butter, depending on how big your pot is. If I'm doing a big Thanksgiving pot, obviously, I'll put in a tablespoon or 2 of butter. I just slice it thin and put it all over. Before I do that, I sprinkle the top with salt and garlic powder if I'm using. Otherwise, just take a clove or 2 of garlic and slice up, and I put it on top. And you turn it on high for about 5 minutes. Once it starts boiling, turn it down. Takes about 15 minutes all told, 15 to 20 minutes, and it's really good. I've been cooking vegetables that way forever. Now my mom never did just boil green beans. She would use water, not broth, but she always put a little olive oil, whatever, a little olive oil and salt. But I find that butter and garlic powder doesn't make sense. You ever made your own garlic powder? The only ground spices I've ever made, or ground herb or ground seasoning, whatever, is basil. At the end of the season, before the basil all dies, I pick all the basil, and I grow several different kinds. Last year, I grew pesto basil, regular sweet basil, and some Thai basil. And I don't separate them when I grow them. I just put them all in the dehydrator. I don't use a food processor. I use an old-fashioned mortar and pestle. Doesn't take long. Just grind it up after it's dried. and just stick it in an empty basil container. And it's really good. The blend of different basils really adds a complexity of flavor. I actually was going through my seeds when I was looking for my green bean seeds, and I forgot, whoops, spider. I forgot that I bought basil seeds. Not Thai basil, but I got purple basil and sweet basil. So we'll make that next year's goal. Or maybe I'll look and see the days of maturity and try to grow a couple extra plants. Because basil doesn't take up much space, you know. I might pop some basil seeds into my tomato plants and just see what happens. So this week I'm going to be at the farmer's market, and I'll see what Alma, who is our produce vendor, Diaz Berries and Vegetables, check them out, see what our produce vendor has. I actually got some garlic scapes from her before. I've never cooked them. I got garlic scapes week before last, and there were different things going on. I never ended up actually cooking them, so I gotta go excavate my refrigerator and see if I've got garlic scapes in there. I doubt someone ate them, although you never know. Some of my kids are actually little mini chefs. They'll like to cook things. Alright, so that's our first pot done. I don't know if you can see. Here, let me just show you. Oh, you can see it from there, yeah. You see how lightweight this mix is? It's really nice. All right, so I'm going to leave, what is that, about 2 inches at the top there. Since I don't want to take too much space on my deck, I'm probably going to leave these grow bags on top of this bench just to leave floor space. Okay. What do we got right here? It says, it's our planting depth. 1 inch, we can do that. Spacing, what's our spacing? Oh, 4-inch spacing, okay. Excellent, all right, well, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I can get 5 seeds in here. Let's see what that looks like. So they're interesting. The beans I did before were white. So these royalty purple pods, almost the color of a kidney bean. All right, do 1 here. This is good. I'm glad it doesn't need a ton of space. That's about 1 inch. There we go on there. The third one here. So if I even get 2 meals worth of green beans off of this, I will count it a victory and be quite grateful for it. Another thing about this is I'm looking forward to see how much better it tastes. Because when I did a few green bean plants in my green stock planter, I only picked like 4 or 5 at a time, and I just threw them in a pot with the green beans that I bought. It was more of an experiment, really, to just see what the plant looks like, how does it grow, how much did I get off of it. It was educational. All right, so it says we lightly water it in. So lightly water it in. If anyone watching this has used a grow bag before, let me know. I just did not feel like going out and getting a ton more pots. So I've actually got a few nursery pots behind the shed, and you know, they're all different colors, and I'm gonna edit this. Talking to myself. Actually, I'm not gonna edit. I can't edit. They're all different colors. Mostly the small ones are purple from the herbs I got from the Meadows Farms, Chef Jeff's. Okay, so that's my first pot of green beans. There are 5 seeds in there. Let's see. Yeah, I've got enough soil, enough everything for at least 1 more pot. For now, we're gonna I like these. I mean, look at this. Oh, my handles. This is so convenient. I'll be able to move this around, especially since I'm going to keep them on top of my storage bench. In this bench, I keep like old empty bottles of tea that I fill up with water so I can water the deck easily. I also keep in here some amendments, some azomite, some berry fertilizer for the berries I've got back here, and vegetable fertilizer for everything. I like having a little mini supply shed right here. What I need is a trowel. I need to get a little trowel in there. As soon as I do that, the whole thing will be complete. There we go. I wasn't sure what 10 gallons actually looks like. I'm not experienced enough as a gardener. I'm a beginning gardener. I'm not an absolute beginner because, like I said, I've grown a few things. I've grown a few things here and there. You know, no big extensive experience. Not claiming any kind of master gardener status. But I realized, you know, I can't really say I'm an absolute beginning gardener because I've learned a few things, right? I've learned what aphids look like. We have an aphid infestation. You look at your plants and say, why are my plants dirty? Why is there dirt all over my plants? But I've learned, nope, it's aphids. I've seen a tomato hornworm on my tomato plants. I've had experience with overwatering, underwatering. I know it looks like they have a cracked tomato. So all kinds of little simple things that you forget that you've learned, you know? Sometimes you're an absolute beginner. And even just a year later, you won't even realize how much progress you've made and how much you've learned until you look back and think about all the things that you completely took for granted because they're just so everyday to you. You know, it's like learning a new language. I was talking to my brother on the phone, and my brother is very smart, you know, very study, but he was telling me about reading a paper he had written and thinking, you know, it was pretty good, you know, and he put in another language, you know, and he came back to it a year after living abroad. And of course, you pick up your grammar and your vocabulary, not just with reading, not just with the textbook. You pick up so much just by being immersed. You know, the reason why people like immersion programs for their kids. Anyway, so he came back and picked up and saw that there's like 1,000 mistakes and just you know, correct them all very quickly, very easily. Okay. I feel like I need to open up another pot. I'm probably going to go ahead and do a third pot of these. So I figure with the leaves and the mulch and the sticks, after a decent rain, this is going to settle in. So I'm going to raise the level of this one a little bit. It's not quite high enough. I took the precaution of bringing 2 bags of soil up to the deck. I actually like watching other YouTubers do their gardening, just planting. There's just something relaxing about it. Or watching people in their videos cooking, even if I'm only looking at the screen intermittently, because it's kind of like having company while you're doing your stuff. I was watching a video from Homestead Heart with Mr. and Mrs. H. I don't know if it was this year or last year, but they set up a camera in one of their large garden areas. You know, like, hey, let's just plant, you know? And I wasn't even outside, but I kept it on for almost the whole day. Out there, I think like 1.5, 2 hours. I kept them on for almost the whole time. I think I was folding laundry and doing the dishes. So I wasn't even really looking at them the whole time, but It's like having company while you work, even if you're working on a different task, even if the person is not even in the same space with you. There's a lot of problems with technology and phones and everything, but that's not one of them. That's one of the good things that has come from it. All right, so we've got our second pot filled. I'm gonna poke my fingers in, make an impression to where I'm gonna put these seeds. Let's see, some 4 inches apart. That's one. Actually, this one I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna do 4. I'm gonna do 4 seeds in this one because 5 might have been too much. But guess who's not gonna go dig up the seeds? This guy. I'm not gonna go dig up those seeds. If they're too close, I've got more pots in the pack. I will just take it out and put it in another pot. All right, so that's probably a little too deep. Let's just fill that in a little bit. Cover. Yeah, that's a little more than an inch. Okay, there we go. That's about an inch. About an inch. That's about an inch. Okay. Yeah, these are great. It's a very durable bottle. I've got like 10 of these in the deck box. It just makes it easier. What I should do, since the hose attachment is not too far away, and I've got one of those splitters, what I should do is rig up the hose so that one of the hoses is up here and I can have one for the garden and one linked up here. But that is a project for another time, because like any budding gardener or any person these days, there's always projects to do. I've got things to put together. I've got thorns to clear. You get these beautiful, they're beautiful, but they're vicious wild roses here. And they will just grow anywhere and they will grow easily. I first saw them pop up like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. We didn't have them here when we first moved here. And they smell great, and they're lovely to look at when they're in bloom. But the vines grow like crazy, and the more mature they get, the thicker they get, and the more vicious their vines, the more vicious their thorns get. So thicker, longer, stronger, very painful, just not good. All right, well, even though I'm a beginning gardener, I hope you learned something today. That little trick with leaves and sticks, I think, is very useful. So, like I said, if you've used these grow bags before, please give me a comment, because I've never used this before. I'd love to know what brand, what volume, what are the pros and cons. I think probably they're going to dry out, so maybe I'll need to water a little more, but anything else that I have not considered, letting you know, because I know you guys know something about gardening. I know some of you know something. So I thought about this. I dare to make videos because even though I'm a beginner, I know more than some people. And also, very selfishly, if you leave a comment, give me a tip, I can get better at gardening more quickly. All right, so thanks for hanging out while I rambled and made sense part of the time and planted my garden. So I'm going to use my little tags just because they're in there. I'll use the tags they gave me, and I'll write down what I planted. I'll put it in here. I might do another pot, and I will keep you posted. The next tour of the deck, I believe, is due tomorrow. I'm going to do weekly updates of my little gardening deck. Be it ever so small, it's mine, and I love it, and it's valuable to me. And, I hope to encourage someone else. If you got a small deck, a small space, you can grow a few things. They'll probably be superior in flavor, because saving money is not the only reason to garden at all. Gardening it's creative, it's meditative, it's relaxing. You're doing something that you see a tangible result for, and it's delicious. There's nothing like being able to go outside and just cut fresh herbs or pick a fresh tomato for dinner. Nothing like it. So I encourage everyone to garden. And yeah, be back with a garden tour tomorrow. Thanks.